Face Value, in collaboration with African Media Association, Migrants Commission, and 103 Malta's Heart.
Hi, I'm Elena.
I am Rachel.
And we welcome you to another episode of Face Value, where we explore people from different nationalities living together here in Malta.
Today we have in the studio with us Florence and Annalisa, who developed their relationship through their voluntary work with an NGO called JCI, correct?
Correct.
Welcome to the studio, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay, can you introduce yourself? Let's start with Annalisa.
Okay. I'm 39 years old, born in Malta. I've been working freelancing in the events industry and the creative economy for about 16, 17 years now. Before that, I used to work at university. And between this change of life, I met with JCI, which is this NGO, which we'll probably be speaking about later today, in the program today. And basically, a few years ago, I decided that half of my time every day is dedicated to the work I do in JCI, which is voluntary work.
Wow.
And the rest of the time is, of course, productive time.
Interesting. And Florence?
So, hi, I'm Florence. I am 29 years old and I'm from Belgium. I joined the organization actually back in Belgium before my move to Malta, which was in December 2020. So mid-COVID, I moved here. I started actually at JCI Antwerp, where I was born. Well, in Antwerp, not JCI Antwerp. In September 2020, so actually a couple of months before I decided to move to Malta. I had known about the organization for quite some time because my parents used to be in it in the 80s. Yeah, so it's been it's been around for a really long time. So I joined back in Belgium, and then upon my move here in Malta, I immediately joined the organization in Malta as well.
Apart from JCI, what do you do professionally?
I work in affiliate marketing, so I'm a copywriter. Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. This is quite interesting for me because Annalisa said half of her productive hours in a day. So that is like, let's assume it's 8 hours a day. 4 hours goes to...
You're very kind, assuming my day is 8 hours. But...
Assuming. Because I know that it could be more.
Yes.
So what do you do in this year?
Yeah, so my day is usually longer than 8 hours because of the profession I chose to engage in. So in the events industry, the days are long. Some days are busier than others.
Especially as a freelancer.
Especially as a freelancer, as me, exactly. My weekends sometimes are my Mondays. So I rest on Mondays, hopefully. So yes, in 2014, JCI Malta decided to, we bid for a conference, for a European conference to be hosted in Malta. And I was trusted way back with the portfolio of events, which was very close to what I was doing professionally. But of course, I wasn't as equipped and as prepared and as experienced as I am now. So with that experience, I realized that I could develop myself professionally as well, over and above the work being done in JCI. And that was the day where I decided to dedicate a chunk of my day, literally half of my day, to JCI, thinking for a year until the conference was over. But then things started to mold and develop into each other. So, of course, I can't really say 1 hour JCI work, 1 hour my work, but because emails come in, WhatsApp never stops. But things started to link and things started to make more sense because maybe of the way I was managing them or the way things just happen sometimes. So yes, part of my day is dedicated to the work I do in JCI. At the moment, I am vested with responsibility on a European level. So although I live in Malta, I have a leadership position on a European level, which is one of the 17 international vice presidents for JCI. And my days are mostly on Zoom or Google Meets. Yes. Speaking to members and other leaders in JCI all over the world. Sometimes the hours between noon and 1 or 2 p.m. is is the bracket of time where time zones wise
Yeah.
makes a bit sense for all areas of the world. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
time
busy.
would be
Period.
busy online, developing projects, analyzing applications for funding, mentoring a lot of young members as well. Being mentored myself as well, because we always need someone to stop echo chamber us. So I think in practice, that's what I do. I think most of the time when I'm in Malta and I'm not traveling to visit countries, I'm online working.
Sounds like more than half a day to me.
Florence, what led you to come to Malta in the first place, and what was your impression when you first moved here?
I actually went for a Facebook ad. I was working back in Belgium for a marketing agency, and it wasn't really my thing. So for the past couple of years, I've always wanted to move abroad. It was always a big dream of mine. And once you start approaching 30s, you're like, it's now or never.
Makes sense of it.
You had never lived abroad before?
I've tried. I went on Erasmus in Southampton in the UK for 4 months. I lived in Australia for 3 months. But every time I tried to live abroad, something had to pull me back every time. So unfortunately, life hasn't been going necessarily the way I wanted it, but it gave me really nice experiences along the way. So I've never been able to pursue that dream of actually living abroad for longer than 4-month periods. So I did what any sane person would do, start talking to my phone, saying, show me ads of job interviews abroad, give me a sunny place, give me a sunny country, somewhere I can speak English, preferably, that I don't need to learn yet another language, even though I'm learning a bit of Maltese now. I got an ad at one point that said, do you want to work and live on an island that has 300 days of sun per year? And still remember those words very well. And I was like, yeah, why not? So I applied, not knowing that it was for Malta.
You didn't even say where it was?
No, it took a really long time for me to figure it out that it was in Malta.
So the hook.
But at that point, I was like, I don't care.
I'm sold, whatever. I mean, Facebook ads told me.
I was like, fine.
I love that some people pray and some people talk to their phones and direct me where I need to go. So this is proof that they listen to us.
Oh, 100%.
I think at one point, during COVID, I think I became so desperate that was like, I was like, I know you're listening, Facebook.
Especially I think when you think, I don't know, now that we've been out of the pandemic for so long, I am really understanding what the effect has had on our psyche. And I think the more we're going to distance ourselves from it, the more we're going to see, oh my God, what a social phenomenon it was. But I think up until that point, you think, I can always do it next year. I have all the time in the world. I can do this, I can do that. Yeah. And then you have a moment that for well over 2 years, life was blocked and it was different from what you had to do. So I think that must have been like a really big thing that prepared you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think it was only, nearly hitting my 30s that gave the push. I think definitely COVID, like you said, it's the now or never kind of feeling. Yeah. And like I said, at that point, I was like, I don't even care where I'll end up. I know I can handle it. I know I've been abroad on my own before, so I can do it. So that's basically how I ended up in Malta.
And what was your impression when you moved here? So when did you move here? 2
years ago.
And it was sun 365 days a year? Not really.
I wasn't counting them. No, so I moved here in December 2020. So it's a little over 2 years now. I had been to Malta before on a very bad vacation.
Ooh.
I went to Gozo for a week with not the best company, let me put it that way. So it was the vacation of hell. So I ended up leaving this country saying I will never set foot on this island again.
And you actually did that, exactly.
Such an irony.
And then I moved here. I decided to give it another shot because I think judging something just on your first impression, it's never a good idea. You should always give things a second chance. And again, I mean, being in Gozo for a whole week and not really leaving, the apartment, it's a very different, perspective of actually living in a country and experiencing it in a very different way, I mean, obviously, I had to adapt to some things. There's things that are different. There are some culture shocks, not as major as, one would think when you think of a culture shock. But there were some things that I definitely had to adapt to. And I don't just mean driving on the other side of the road. If you saw someone driving on the wrong side of the road in December 2020, that was me. But no, it's been an adjustment for sure. But it's I've been guided very well, I think, as well in JCI to adapt and to
So
make it
that
feel
came
home.
in basically at the same time you moved to Malta. Immediately you started volunteering also with JCI?
I think I signed up in March 2021.
Okay, so there was a bit of a gap.
There was a little bit of a gap. I had been in contact already with JCI Malta way before, because like the minute I told people of JCI Antwerp, like I'm moving to Malta, they immediately were like, okay, let me get my contacts. We know Annalisa, we know Nicole. And I just started getting added to like a different set of Facebook groups and chat messages and WhatsApp groups and everything. And people just kept referring me to like, oh, this person will be perfect to
That's
guide you in
really
Malta.
great.
So immediately, like the minute I hit the island, immediately I already knew a couple of people, which definitely helped the transition.
I think, funnily enough, this is the way our brains think when someone is moving abroad. When I say we, in the JCI bubble, if I had to call it that way, that we immediately, automatically want to link people together, even if they don't ask. So it's like you have someone to support you, even though you don't know each other on a personal level.
Yeah. And it's something I've been experiencing all my life, because as I said before, my parents have been in JCI back in the 80s, and my dad had taken up quite a big role in JCI as well, on a national level in Belgium. And over the course of my life, whenever I would go on vacation, we would always visit people that we knew from JCI. We would always like have little addresses everywhere. Even when I went to Australia, my dad immediately suggested, do you want me to contact some people in JCI Australia? So it's a very nice, like it's a community where once you're part of it, you'll kind of always be a part of it. So yeah.
So how is the community like in Malta?
The community of JCI?
Yes.
Okay, I think across the years, so I've been a member for over 11 years now, and I've seen a change. When I joined JCI, it was all about trainings, community projects, but the membership base was mostly Maltese, and I would say mostly Maltese people of a certain income. Which is I always used to feel the poorest member joining JCI. Of course, there were people in business. There were people older than me.
How old are you when you joined?
Early 20s.
Okay.
Wow.
Early 20s. So you are immediately exposed to, backtracking a bit, JCI is a membership organization for people between 18 and 40.
Okay.
So that bracket is quite broad. So joining in the early years, you're immediately put in the same room or on the same team with people who are managing their businesses or CEOs in one place or another. So there immediately I felt that gap, which initially I thought, maybe this is not for me. But I was so wrong.
So what prompted you to even join?
Yes, I think reflecting on this, the reason why I joined and the reason why I stayed are completely different. I joined because JCI way back put together a creative writing workshop.
Okay.
So I thought JCI was all about the creative sphere, etc., etc. And I'm a very impulsive person, so I went to the training. It was very fun. I met a lot of new people. I said, okay, I'm joining. And I paid the membership, not reading anything else that JCI does. So yes, this jump in the dark was something which still today attracts me. And sometimes it gives me problems, sometimes it gives me nice solutions for life. Yes. So way back, that the membership base was probably older people and people with some money to be able to sustain themselves even in JCI. Across the years, I've seen the membership bracket go lower.
Okay.
Which is, I think, very important. I've seen people joining JCI in their late 30s, and they always keep saying, if only I knew about this earlier. because your development can take 10, 20 years in JCI, and people could see the value of that.
So you can start earlier, but once you hit it, it's 40, it's...
Yes, well, there are different structures. So part of the lifetime membership is awarded to you. We have a membership area which is called senatorship. You can't buy a senatorship, you can't ask for it. The organization awards you a senatorship as a recognition for the work you do in the organization, or the work you did in community projects, always related to JCI. So those people who have been awarded a senatorship are members for life, meaning that we'll probably knock on your door for the rest of your life if we need help, if we need advice. So now I think the membership base is more international, even in Malta, especially in recent years. We managed to attract people who are non-Maltese, and they brought in their network, which was something not very well, not much seen in Malta in the JCI membership. So when I used to go abroad for conferences, like, I don't know, members from JCI UK would be from all over the world, really. But in Malta, we were always very close, I would say. But in recent years, I've seen a big difference in the membership base, the people we attract, students, non-students. I think the economic side of it, I feel it disappeared across the years. Now I don't feel that there are members who probably feel the way I used to feel in the early days when I joined. So I think there's also now a lot more funded projects in JCI that people can just pay little money to attend or to contribute to that. So I think I've seen a change in membership base. So wider, nationality-wise, and also lower age-wise.
Because of this change that you've talked about, is it a reflection of how Malta has changed with the influx of expats from across the globe? Is this also the reflection that is...
Probably yes. I would probably even remove the word probably. Yes. But it's also because we've risked a bit. So we've opened ourselves to circles where we usually won't try to attract members from. So I think it's a mixture of the strategy of JCI membership and growth in Malta, but also the pool of people who are available to join JCI in the country.
Okay, we'll be taking a break now, and after that we'll continue the discussion. It's still Face Value on 103 Malta's Heart.
Face Value, in collaboration with African Media Association, Migrants Commission, and 103 Malta's Heart.
And we're back with Face Value 103 Malta's Heart. Together with Rachel, we're joined by Annalisa and Florence, and we're talking about their experience and their relationship that they have developed through their volunteer work at JCI. So you had said, Rachel, that you had any questions that you wanted to ask.
Yes, I was going to ask Florence. Is there any difference between the voluntary environment, if I can use that word, of Belgium and Malta? Did you notice any change when you became a member of JCI?
Well, I have to say I wasn't a member for that long in Belgium of JCI. I've done some voluntary work in Belgium though, but it was with definitely less professional organizations.
Okay.
Overall, I think what I've seen from JCI and what I've known also from, my parents is that I think JCI internationally always has like a certain standards, and that's why they have like different procedures in the works, and
so the system is pretty much the same across.
Basically, yes. Obviously, it's adapted to because you have smaller countries, bigger countries. You
exactly.
have more like, for example, in the US, driving for an hour. Here it would mean you will literally drive off the island. An hour in the US will probably get you from your house to the supermarket. So obviously, there's differences in that as well, and it adapts to how big your country is and to what the country needs as well. but that's why, when a national organization is being put in, it's people locally who start the organization. It's not, someone internationally who decides what happens and whatnot. So it's always done in the best interests of the country itself and what resources you have.
So on a governance level, the structures are the same.
Okay.
Because we're a membership organization of an international organization. But then the work that different JCI chapters and local organizations and national organizations do is a reflection of the needs of their community.
Okay.
So projects differ, or they're the same depending on the sustainable solutions that the projects are finding for the gaps in the community. But structurally, we follow the same procedure because we're equal.
Okay. And also, Florence, you had worked in Belgium before moving to Malta, no?
Mm-hmm.
So how was it for you? What are the shocks you experienced in your working relationship in Belgium and in Malta? Anyone?
Well, the thing is, I work for a Belgian company here, so that on my work level, it's not much of a difference. I work with mostly Belgian people and one German girl. So in that sense, no, there's actually a Maltese guy that works for us as well.
Okay. So shout out to the only Maltese guy.
And he lives in
just
Greece,
forgot
so we
all
don't.
about him.
No, he lives in Greece.
Okay.
He lives in Greece, so we don't see him a lot. But so on my work level, there's definitely no difference.
Sure.
On a JCI level, though, I mean, there's definitely differences in the sense like I would say it's a good
approach, timing.
but the thing is, timing wise, you mean like
We're always late, are we?
that's the thing. I'm always late as well, which is why I knew when I picked an island to live on, it wasn't going to be a good choice. No, so I can't really comment on that because it's like a well-known fact that I'm usually late. So.
Today you were not late.
No, I was on time actually. But yeah, so I'd say overall, I don't see a very big difference. Maybe it's because I'm used to living in a country where there's like a very multicultural society. So maybe it's not something that makes a big difference. I think it's more on a personal level. For example, religion is a very big thing here, which isn't at all in Belgium. There's a lot of like different values and different standards that are very different here. So I think more, it's not really on a work level that I really notice those things. It's more on a personal level. Yeah.
Outside of JCI, do you have any other community?
Sorry?
Outside of JCI, do you have friends? Do you have social life outside of
Yes, I do.
JCI?
I have a Maltese boyfriend.
I see.
So I'm fully integrated.
Fully integrated.
To be honest, I don't have a lot of hobbies outside of JCI. I mean, a lot of hobbies. Like, I play some music. I have a dog, which takes up some of my time as well.
You learn Maltese? You learn Maltese?
I'm learning Maltese. Yes. So there's obviously stuff that I do on the side. But right now with the role that I'm in at JCI, it takes up quite a bit of time. So I don't think it's for myself now very realistic to do a lot of stuff on the side. So it's mostly just work in JCI. But the thing is that my social environment is also based, like most of my friends are JCI members. So it's kind of like...
So it's an extended network that sort of like seeps in on other aspects of your life as well. For sure. Also, I imagine because if you're working and then the extra time that you have volunteering, you're doing the volunteering, it's sort of, it becomes also your social
I think
component.
it's also in and out. Like sometimes I attract in JCI my friends who are against JCI because they never see me. So they're like, I hate JCI, it takes away your time. But sometimes I need them to come on board, even to have a perspective of someone who's not a member of JCI. Because I think sometimes we risk always thinking in the JCI world.
I was about to say, this is in the best intention possible. But obviously, I listen to a lot of things, and I'm listening to a podcast right now that's called "Sounds Like a Cult." And like sometimes, like, why are you talking about it? It's sort of like
live.
baby, like because
I make a lot of jokes about it.
It does have,
It's
like a lot of components, but not for the organization in itself. But when there's something that has an organizational structure that is that big, and then you're lying to like higher like systems of governance and you're dedicating so this extra time to it, like my head goes immediately. Sounds like
This is the basic comment we always get.
Okay, so it is a feedback or an impression that you have from people.
It is the comment we
you
get before people join, so be careful.
There you have it. 6 months from now.
Really?
6 months later.
You sell your soul.
Really?
But it's genuinely,
They're coming to get it tonight.
it's a joke that I make with the people that I know who are not in JCI. So people in my work environment, for example, people who don't really understand JCI and not necessarily are interested to get to know JCI. I always just refer to JCI as the cult that I'm in.
I mean, being such a huge organization internationally, and that has been around for more than 100 years, we need structures to keep us together and structures to keep us on the same values, keep testing us as well. I mean, JCI moved along with years, with the passing of time. Sometimes I think not fast enough. I criticize internally. It's not fast enough. The change sometimes is not fast enough. So maybe we're losing young people who would benefit a lot from JCI because maybe we're late on TikTok or late on, getting on the trends. But with such a huge organization, change sometimes happens slower. But on a local and national level, the change can happen faster. So we've seen change in community projects even now with one of my assigned countries in Turkey, who experienced an earthquake early on this year. So they were able to change their projects according to the community needs now. Earlier we said like this idea of we can do it later, and how COVID maybe changed that. With some of my assigned countries, that we can do it later doesn't exist because they have no stability of governments. Some are on the borders of Ukraine and Russia, so they're experiencing
crisis.
Their life is changing every day. So this idea that maybe we live in Malta, that we can do it later or do it after summer. Some countries don't have that. So some cultures really have to do it and have to do it now.
What do you mean by assigned countries? How does this work? So if you have projects that are developing, for example, you had mentioned Turkey or Ukraine, you're like different countries are working to solve quote unquote the same or develop the same projects together?
Yes and no. So in my role this year as an international vice president, I am one of 17 assigned to a number of countries. So these 17 people are assigned. I have 7 countries that I take care of, so I'm in contact with every day. We have monthly meetings, sometimes even every 2 weeks. So I'm the closest person to come for advice, come for solution providing, or come if they have problems, accessing funding or accessing on our online services. So I'm kind of the person to go to, which is closer to the headquarters team, because JCI has a team of I think about 20 now, employees who now are based all over the world. So JCI works 24 hours. We move along with the time zones, and that staff, the people at HQ, the headquarters, is staff members. They're paid, and we have their support all the time. We as volunteers don't get paid. In my role this year, because I'm assigned to 7 countries, I have to travel and visit them at least twice a year. So there's a budget which covers some of my travel, not all my travel, because being based in Malta and being assigned to the Balkan region, they're not even connected between themselves. So I need to be intelligent to use my travel budget wisely. Sometimes it can cover everything, sometimes it doesn't. So those assigned countries, I work with them closely. And I work with their partners closely. So when I visit them, we go visit their universities, we visit their partners on a local level, on a national level, their sponsors, government entities, other institutions who are bringing together the projects that they do. And this is how I also then increase my network, not only on a basic network level, but also on a professional level. So that's kind of the give and take of voluntary work, in this case, in the JCI sphere.
And how did you come in contact with one another?
I think it's through probably the first European conference you attended, Florence. Or no. I think when you were contesting for one of the roles during an AGM.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. So I was contesting for a role on the national boards. And Annalisa was... so basically when you're being elected for the national boards, you sit in a room with... all members are invited. So whoever comes gets to have... Well, all members actually have voting rights. And so basically you present your plans for the next year. So... like a job interview, basically. And everyone in the audience can ask questions. And Annalisa asked me many questions. And I was like, I don't like you.
That's always the first impression new members have of me. I feel compelled to ask questions to the new members. Not because I really care about the answer, but because I care that they think about the solutions around the fact that... Yes, mindset, the responsibility. Although we're working volunteering in an NGO, you're assigned responsibilities, and sometimes you're ready for them, and sometimes maybe you need more time to be developed. Like when
you're not ready yet.
In this role that I'm in right now, I declined the offer to contest it for 4 years because I felt I'm not ready yet. And every time I declined, I knew that maybe that opportunity won't come up again. But I felt I would be doing a disservice to myself first and to the members if I step into something where I don't feel ready enough for it. So that's where we met. So I basically shot too many questions to you on the first day.
From all this conversation, I feel like, does every member have a responsibility? Because I feel like this is like another work environment.
where you don't
it's so serious.
No,
so what is the life cycle of membership?
The thing is, how I like to explain it to our members is that whatever you put in the organization, you will get back from the organization as well. So it's kind of a give and take kind of relationship. So if you can perfectly be a very passive member and maybe join in a general meeting once in a while and come to a training and maybe come to Friday drinks with us. And maybe we'll only see you once a year. We have members like that. But the thing is, and obviously the ones that we like the most are the ones that, show up to the trainings and actually learn something in the sense that, like, not trying to go away from the question too far, but the thing is, like, this organization is really made for people who want to improve themselves. And if you become a member, the proudest thing that we can give is how they change and how they develop, how they, gain confidence. And I've seen it in myself. And it's only been a little over 2 years now. And it's, the changes.
From what you have said now, it's like, so if you join as a rookie, so to speak, like you're not so good in something and you joined, you took the trainings. At the end of the day, when you get better at it, it is expected, quote unquote, that you give back.
Yes and no. I think at the basis of a volunteering organization, there are no expectations.
Okay.
So people are free to join, people are free to walk away. Some people just stop after 3 years of being a member and then they come back.
There's no obligations.
No, there isn't that obligation. But what we're speaking about here is active citizenship at the end of the day. So I think the people who remain very active and keep taking more responsibility are the ones who care about changing something in the community.
So tell me about the active citizenship part.
Yes.
So now if I understand clearly now that there's self-development and now there's active citizenship. So tell me how that works.
Yes, I think they go hand in hand together. So because of the projects we do in the community, we're automatically developing ourselves. When I joined JCI, I knew how to ask for a quotation because I was part of the student council. So I had a bit of background. But in the learning by doing aspect of JCI, you'll end up developing yourself without even realizing. You need to pitch your project, you need to therefore be good at public speaking or become good at public speaking, debate your idea to be able to get a vote about your project, or maybe...
And you learned this from, there are courses, or you learned from mentors in the organization?
I think it's a mixture of all of it. Okay. So, like when I joined, this mentorship program was big. Okay. Now it's still very present in JCI. But in my early days, I didn't feel the need of getting a mentor. I was so wrong and so stupid. So mentorship is a big part of it. Okay. And you're free to choose mentors from all over the world, really, and people who inspire you confidence. Some people change mentors according to the projects they're doing or what they're doing at work. So sometimes, that's why I said at the beginning, the parallels collide, because maybe I'm facing something at work that a member in JCI can help me with. For even a short period of time, it might be a 3-month mentorship or 2-3 sessions, and then you move on. So I think this idea of, therefore, self-development while you're developing your community, the active citizenship side of it, comes hand in hand. We learn by doing all the time. I think when we decided to bring this big conference in Malta, I never did a gala dinner at the granaries for 1,340 people. Wow. Now I know how to do it because JCI gave me the safe space as well to try things out, to dream.
And you could fail.
And I could fail. And in that environment, failing didn't bring nasty repercussions.
Nasty.
No one can get fired.
Yes.
I mean, yes, you really.
and I think we're living in a country that doesn't speak about failure. It's like failure doesn't exist. We're not brought into an education system that speaks about failures because of what you learn from it. I think Malta is hiding failure all the time. And in JCI, I found an environment where I could dream big. So when I remember when I went first meeting with this idea of, guys, gala dinner, let's do it on the Fossos, let's do it on the granaries. They were like, okay, come back when you have a serious plan. And I went 3 meetings in a row. I'm like, I can see it. I close my eyes and I can see it. Trust me to do it and help me to do it. So that environment then builds you up, and finding the mentors, finding people who can support you, even in the craziest of ideas, even if some of it fails. But the rest can maybe be rewired, or we can rethink the areas where the project is failing.
Interesting. And Florence, when you took up leadership roles, correct? Mm-hmm. After 2 years. So this is like this year, because you came to Malta in 2020 December?
Yes. So I already, sorry, you're asking for what role I'm in right now?
Yeah,
or
okay.
So the thing is, I became vice president memberships in 2022 last year. Yes. Mm-hmm. Wow, that seems very far away. No, I was responsible for memberships last year. So recruiting new members, talking to the new members, finding a system on what works best. So I already had taken on a leadership role last year, where I met Annalisa with when I pitched my ideas. So this year I decided to go for the role of national president. So I am interim national president right now. Still learning, making mistakes, as it should be. Like I'm learning a lot, and it's been a very, very interesting ride so far.
Exactly. So I would like to explore this interesting moment for you so far in your leadership role. We'll be taking a quick break now, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation along that line. This program is still Face Value on 103 Malta's Heart.
Face Value, in collaboration with African Media Association, Migrants Commission, and 103 Malta's Heart.
And we're back with Face Value 103 Malta's Heart. We're still talking to Annalisa and Florence and their experience and their work in JCI. Wanted to step a bit away from that because I'm also interested in learning about your personal experiences, or maybe more specifically how this thing that brings you two together has impacted your personal and professional life. And Annalisa, I was interested, before you joined the organization, what was your experience, and in terms of coming into contact maybe with people from different nationalities in general? And how has this experience impacted your personal and professional life from that lens?
Okay. I think I was quite isolated, really, and there's no pun on the word island and isolation, but I come from a very humble family in a quiet village, studying in Malta. So at that time, when I was a student at university, Maltese students and foreign students never really even spent time together.
This was like how many years ago, by and large?
Oh, you're trying to...
No. I want to see what has changed.
No, this was almost 20 years ago now.
Okay,
so
what
when
has changed?
Yes, changed a lot, and I think for the better on many levels.
Yeah.
So when I was in the student council, we already felt this need to bring foreigners to just to put
Were
a
there a
label
lot
on
of foreigners in the university then?
Yes, they were paying money
Till now.
to study. So probably they were spending their time being more focused. yes. So way back when I was in the student council, we felt the need of a common break.
Okay.
So we had lobbied with university and put structures together to have a common break that would bring students together. Because another issue with Malta and the main campus of university is that most local students would come for lectures, go home and come back. Something which I never did. Because I was always active in the student organizations and later in the student council. So at that time, I wasn't part of JCI. I had very little exposure to the international people living in Malta at the time. Joining JCI, I feel it connected me to the world. And I don't say it lightly, or maybe it sounds a bit like a buzzword, but it really did, because I was discovering people from other countries having similar issues to me and how they would tackle them in the place of work, in project management, especially countries, small nations like us. So I started to connect with people from Monaco, for example, which is another small state, or even bigger countries who would have similar issues to us. Way back it was youth unemployment, for example, environmental issues even now. So JCI connected me to a bigger world. And I feel my life would have been different being based on an island without JCI, because my opportunities were automatically less. So now I am able, not even able, for me it's normal to work in multicultural groups.
Did you feel like you had to challenge at any point any sort of like misconceptions or perceptions that you had?
100%. I remember the first steps in JCI or in international events in JCI, I would just shut up because I realized I was like having wrong thoughts of maybe people from different countries, you know, like things you never say.
Yeah, the world has moved past this level.
yeah, right. So I feel, and I was born in a family who was not able to give me that platform. So for me, this voluntary work was also connecting me to the world, opening my mind, developing my critical sense, but even that critical sense and that critical thought on an international level. So we're not just an island, we don't have our problems which are close to Malta, but hey, you're part of a bigger ecosystem, and the choices you do here impact someone else somewhere else, and vice versa. So I feel I became a citizen of the world with the full responsibility of that. So I think, yes, I feel like the self-development aspect for me is like this process of butterflies, the metamorphosis they go through. I feel in a short period of time I went through that, and that automatically then challenged a lot of who I am, what I do, my values, the choices I make, and I think that then it became like a snowball effect because I got connected to people who are non-Maltese.
So how then do you feel when you see people who don't have the kind of opportunity that you've had in JCI? and their reactions towards the international community and, the general perception of people who are non-Maltese towards foreigners, migrants generally. How does that really?
Yeah, so I think Malta needs a big boost of internationalization. I feel there's still a lot of racism on different levels, like not only on a skin color or on the difference of racial discrimination, but even people coming from different parts of Europe or different parts of the world who maybe don't speak English as good as one would expect. So I think Maltese people are really missing a big opportunity of working and opening up. Even in communities. I live in Zurich, which is a rather close community. We're starting to have people who are not even from Zurich now coming to live there. So where I come from, we define foreigners on two levels. Those that are not from the village and those that are not Maltese. So imagine me coming from there. So yeah, I think it's a missed opportunity. And when I'm working within projects or groups who are Maltese only, I feel really stuck, and I started to become now even more frustrated because we keep on going around the same thoughts, and maybe our thinking processes are the same. When if you have the influence, if you have the flavor, of other nationalities, of other minds, other hearts that bring ideas to the table, I think things can be resolved in a different way.
Apart from personal level, like individual level rather, do you also see this reflection in systems and in institutions as well?
Yes, yes. In the work I do in the creative industry, sometimes I have to request, or I have to look for, or if I'm able to employ myself people who are non-Maltese, that would be my first choice. So it's almost a positive discrimination. So like I would automatically almost exclude people who have my same background because I think you're not bringing anything new. You know?
What do you mean by what do you do exactly professionally?
Okay,
Creative director, no?
Yes, I am a creative director or artistic director for projects. So I do a lot of logistics and artistic content for festivals, conferences, events, theater, creative industry mostly. So in that world, especially in theater, for example, I think it's been very rarely to see people of certain nationalities stepping into a theater to watch a performance. And last year, with one of the festivals I was heading as artistic director, I clearly took decisions because I was in a leadership position that allowed me to do that. To be able to have foreign artists on stage, even artists from Africa on stage, because I think we rarely see them on stage in Malta, but also I was interested in the audience. So like refugees, where are they in our creative economy? They have a lot to bring to us, but they're nowhere to be seen, and they're nowhere to be probably invited as well.
So you are looking at it from the perspective of harnessing all the resources regardless of the background,
Oh, 100%. It's the person, and it's the heart and the mind and the soul of that person that brings something to the project. I'm not interested in anything else that might be a denomination of sex, orientation, color, nationality, language. As long as we can speak in a language.
Communicate.
Yes, and communicate.
And get the job done.
Exactly.
For Florence, you were saying that one of when you were pitching your ideas was when you were the president for membership. You spoke about how you plan to recruit members and what you should do. And also Annalisa has mentioned that in a transition process from the 11 years ago till now, you had looked at where to, penetrate in new circles to get new members. How do you do that?
To be very honest, and I think that's part of being a leader as well, when you're not doing a good job, you should be able to admit it as well. I don't think last year was the best time for me to do memberships because I was fairly new on the island. I didn't know what structures were present. I didn't know what organizations we were, battling against, who were competitors and everything. So I didn't have a good overview, I would say, of how to get new members and how to attract them. I feel like I'm doing a better job this year actually than I was last year when it was actually my role. The first thing I did is what Annalisa actually refused. I got a mentor. I got a mentor from JCI who guided me and who was actually a recruiter herself in her personal job. So she helped me get a better understanding of how to, retain your members and how to reach out to your members, how to talk to them, how to get systems in place that make your life easier as well. So you're not constantly chasing everyone. So I think that part of mentorship was the most important. But firstly, obviously, I had to understand the country a bit better, which I think I have a better sense of it now, which is why everything I learned last year during the mentor program, I'm applying now. So, yeah.
Would you want to stay in Malta, say, 5 years from now?
Big life question.
Big life. This is like, in the job interviews when they ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And they will always ask you this, and I will never, ever have a response to that.
So now you don't have a response.
Okay, maybe if again, like when you were thinking about moving to Malta, were you expecting to stay this long? For
No,
example?
when I moved to Malta, I told everyone in Belgium, I said, I'll be back in a year.
I'm noticing a pattern with you saying statements and doing the exact opposite of those statements.
I'm a liar. No. The thing is, I genuinely thought, because I knew I was going to, Belgium is a relatively small country, but obviously Malta is a really, really small island. So I wanted to be realistic about it when I moved here, and I wanted to have a safety net as well. So I was actually renting an apartment in Antwerp, and I told my landlord, I said, I really want to come back in a year. Can I sublet my apartment, even though it was in the contract? Like, you cannot sublet your apartment. He said, you know what, really like you as a tenant. You're really clean and organized. Sure, I'll allow it. So I actually found someone to rent my apartment for the year, left all my furniture there. And I was like, yeah, I'll be back in a year. No worries. And then around October, the girl who was in my apartment messaged me and said, I'm moving out. I'm going to move in with my boyfriend. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I have to find a new tenant then. But then I was like, okay, I'm getting closer to the year passing. But I was like, okay, I'm not ready. I felt immediately like I wasn't ready yet to go back. Because the thing is, when I had just moved here, I obviously I already had my contacts in JCI Malta. But it's only until a certain point where you start understanding how much impact people have in your life and how big of a connection you have with them. And I think it's only like on very like crucial moments and crossroads that you face in your life that you understand better how worthy these people are in your life and how important they are in your life. And I think I had that moment actually in September of 2021 when I was almost a year here. I had a birthday, and my birthday was coming up, and I'm a very much person like it's my party and I cry if I want to. So my birthday is very important to me, and everyone knows that. But obviously not the people here in Malta. So I was a bit worried because I had asked my friends, like, meet me in Rome, because it's halfway between Belgium and Malta. And not a lot of people were interested. People were like, yeah, but we have stuff to do. And obviously, you're always the main character in your own story, but not necessarily in that of others. Yet I was very, very disappointed. Yeah. So over like the closer my birthday came, like the less motivated I was to do anything, and the less, I was feeling like doing anything. Up until one point, I got a message from my friend Alex in JCI who asked me, do you want to go for breakfast for your birthday? And I'm like, nah. She's like, what do you mean? You love breakfast? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't feel like it. I don't want to do it. She kept convincing me. And in the end, I was like, okay, let's do it. That morning, still wasn't feeling like it. I let her wait for an hour.
Whoa.
Eventually, I managed to get there. My car broke down on the way as well, but that's another story. But so eventually I got there after an hour. And when I walked in, there were 10 people or even more, all with a party hat on. And it was a surprise party. Yeah. And that really got to me. Because the fact that one person went out of their way to give me a special day on my birthday to do something that I like as well. You know, it's something that matches my interests and something that I love to do because I love breakfast. And then the fact that she got 10 other people to join for my birthday, and these were people that I knew those people, but I didn't know that that they were so invested in the relationship, and that changed everything for me. It was after that when the other girl in October, November decided to move out, I was like, no, wait, I'm not done yet. And then by the time the second girl moved out in February, I was like, okay, I'm gonna sell everything. I sold everything for a ridiculous price. But yeah, no, I was like, no, it's, you know, it's worth it to stay here.
So moral of the story, until we keep doing a birthday party for you, you'll stay here.
Yes,
right?
I didn't get one last year, I think.
So go there.
12th of September.
Didn't mention this.
12th of September.
Okay.
Now you know what you have to do next.
Birthday party.
So gala.
On the
January,
Fossils,
right?
yeah?
Okay.
No expectations. No.
Okay. I was also going to ask, like, the space, the voluntary organization, the NGOs, what is it like for you? Especially you have, and I'm talking to Annalisa now, you have like a global perspective of this. You have a global view and you have seen it all, I would say, in your 11 years of being in JCI, compared to the local ones, you know, the ones that are not so internationally. Is there any kind of, you know, do you see some difference? Do you see some slacks? Do you see some things that they could have done better if they have a world view and maybe they would have made more impact?
So I think to start off with, I am a big believer of civil society in Malta, especially because I think there are services, there are things, there are gaps in society that only the civil society, only NGOs are filling. So I think that's a must, and I will always be a fan of civil society. I was part of other NGOs locally who don't have the international perspective and who don't have something which JCI does. We have a 1 year to lead. That means that you can only be in your role for 1 year.
1 year.
Elected for 1 year, give it your best shot or your worst one,
That's it.
and you're out. So when comparing those two items, so the internationalization and the 1 year to lead, to other NGOs, I think there are some NGOs who would do well with some renewed blood. So leadership, I don't believe that being a leader for an NGO for over 5 years, 10 years, brings a lot of good. So I think this regeneration of leadership, I think other NGOs would probably need it.
Don't you feel like maybe then at that point it would be like new people in leadership that would have to relearn those skills again, though?
But it's okay now.
You think it's necessary?
We're giving an opportunity for others. If you don't train your next team,
Fair.
I think for us, succession plans are very important. I think
Exactly.
some NGOs in Malta don't have this idea of succession plan. And some risk that when they retire, the NGO collapses with them. So I think succession plans and bringing in new blood and training others is a must for all NGOs. And the international side, those who don't, maybe should open up even for European funded projects to bring in that aspect, because it's another layer of the way you can live in the world. You know, the world is not isolated. So I think the international part in other NGOs brings more value even to the work they do on a local level. Like this idea of acting local, thinking global is probably an idea from the 90s, and that's another level of showing my age. But that's what it is, really, you know, like you really have to be open and include the internationalization into your work.
Quickly, we would like to round up with Florence and Annalisa. Plans for JCI, any plans coming up, programs, quickly?
Yeah, so up until June, we'll have our self-care course, which will be focused on basically anything mental health, kind of, you know, influence of mental health that you need in your personal life and in your work life, and to make sure that you can maintain your work-life balance. So we have a course on that. We have a summer party coming up in the summer. And then in October, we have a mental health awareness exposition happening as well. And we have our general meeting happening as well, which in that one we'll be deciding who our next boards will be, our national board for next year. It'll be very interesting. So we have a lot of events coming up, and yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Wow, okay. It has been a very enlightening conversation for me, and I also know for the listeners as well, Elena.
Yes, I agree. And we'll see who's going to be joining the cult next.
Yeah, probably it's you, but
Keep us posted on that. But thank you so much for being on the show. It was a really interesting conversation. And we thank you for listening to another episode of Face Value. Make sure to catch up on the previous episodes on YouTube and Spotify, and to follow us on social media for the updates. And we're going to see you same time next week. I've been Elena.
And I am Rachel. Thank you guys and ladies for joining us. Thank you ladies for joining us in the studio today. And thank you listeners for being with us. We'll see you again.
Face Value, in collaboration with African Media Association, Migrants Commission, and 103 Malta's Heart.